listening to Potty Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy.
And now, the hunt for the perfect album.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the hunt for the perfect album with Billy and Dave. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm very good.
That's good.
You must be too.
Oh, I am. I'm not going to lie. Why don't you tell the people what it is you gave me this week?
I gave you one of the very earliest pure prog rock albums, 1969, I think, In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson, their debut album.
Yep.
And the fact that this album was produced by a bunch of 20-somethings who had never put out an album is fucking mental.
So, as mentioned last week, I'd never listened to this, but it's been on my to-listen for quite a while. I knew very little about what it was other than it's prog rock. I mean, it's a full, 45-minute, 50-minute album comprised of 5 tracks, which...
That's very proggy.
That's very proggy. That's the definition of prog right there.
Yep.
So when did you first listen to this?
I'm not entirely sure exactly, but I'm going to do a blanket. I knew the first track off this album from way back, probably as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I first listened to this album there was a period about 6 years ago, I don't know if you recall, Billy, where there was a thing called a pandemic.
Oh, yes.
And we all had to stay indoors for a bit. And some people got into creating their own sourdough starter.
Yeah.
Some people took up macrame and crocheting. I bought a fuckload of vinyl on Amazon and Discogs and other places. And
I got into smoking meat.
I got into smoking cigars, which I've since given up. But one of the things I did was go on a bit of a prog bender. I'd always kind of loved a few things around the periphery of prog rock, particularly around that sort of late 60s through early 80s period. There were bands that I really liked. But I did a big deep dive during COVID and kind of broadened beyond the Genesis and Yes and kind of Obvious and Jethro Tull that I was already a big fan of and got heavily into bands like Meridian and Camel and Caravan and King Crimson obviously was one that came up every time I looked at top 10 prog albums of all time, etc., blah, 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 and then went and bought the entire fucking lot on Discogs. So that's where I came to this album and then to kind of the other 3 of the big 4 King Crimson albums. So they've done a lot of shit, obviously. Robert Fripp is the only sort of consistent member, but they started with, Greg Lake was in there, who then went on to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, sort of more famously shortly after this album, really. But it's a genre that I have as you tease me in the opening of True Classics, it's kind of one of my real comfort zones. Is this for me? Sort of early 70s to very early 80s is the big sweet spot. But you've got these progenitor albums like this, and there were a couple that came before this. Yeah. But this is the prog that I love. Mm-hmm. The give me a 15-minute long song that's got about 8 minutes of jazz noodling in the middle of it with no vocals, and I'm in a really happy place. Yeah. I'm expecting you to say some of these tracks are a little long.
Here's my thing. It's not that they're long necessarily, because I don't have beef with that. I mean, Dream Theater, they have some tracks that are 26 minutes long.
Can I take...
Take a stab at what you think my issue would be.
Your least favourite track on this is Moonchild.
Possibly.
Wow. Okay.
Possibly.
Because there's a big difference. There are obviously at least 3 very long tracks on this.
Yeah.
Moonchild is the one that doesn't necessarily earn its length.
You kind of hit the nail on the head when you said that your favorite thing is when, you've got 6 or 7 minutes of jazz noodling. And so
there
here's
is a
my
surprising amount of jazz in this album.
This is this is predominantly a jazz album. Like there are elements of prog.
I can get on board with that.
Obviously, this is kind of the birth of prog, and it progressed from here. But I would define this really as a jazz album, and it's got some really interesting production technique. Running voices through synths and amps and stuff to make them sound funky. And obviously, for a jazz album, there's plenty of actual rock and electric. Like the start of 21st Century Schizoid Man. My issue is that a lot of these songs aren't what I would call songs. You have a 3-minute song, and then the track has 9 minutes of jazz noodling. And in some of these tracks, it doesn't even come back to a song or lyrics at the end. It's literally a 3-minute song with jazz noodling for the rest of the duration of the track. And it just feels disconnected, and to me, while I like some of that jazz noodling, for a lot of these tracks it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, that's enough. Like these aren't like Moonchild.
Get your hand off it, boys. Come on.
Yeah, like Moonchild, it's a 12-minute track.
Yeah,
but it's not really. Moonchild is like a 3-minute song and then 9 minutes of jazz.
Moonchild is the weird. It's the redheaded stepchild of this album.
Yeah,
there are a lot of even big King Crimson fans who love this album who think that Moonchild is kind of it overstays its welcome. It's a little bit too wanky, and
my memory is that
I like it, but if I was skipping anything on this album, I'm skipping Moonchild because I think it's the most experimental. It's the most prog. It's the most ahead of its time, but it's also the one that I get the least from. Whereas all the other tracks in the album I will happily listen to regardless. I don't care if Epitaph's 12 minutes something, I think, from memory, and I fucking love every second of it. Whereas Moonchild, I often skip.
Yeah,
which
so
I know
Moonchild is the longest by far.
It flies in the face of the concept of this show.
Yeah.
Because, I this is not my favourite King Crimson album.
Yeah. But it's a piece of history. I understand
it's a piece of history.
why you
it's
gave
the
me
most
this one.
important, and not just for that band, but for prog music. So I did want to kind of get your sense of it. And as soon as you said you'd wanted to listen to it, I went, okay, well, this is the right one. But I will say, this is not. This is probably my third favourite King Crimson album.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think most King Crimson fans will have Red as their favourite album.
Okay.
I don't want to speak for, thousands of people around the world, but I think most people would have Red as their favourite. Possibly Discipline, which was an album from the early 80s, as their second favourite. And then you've kind of got this, and you've got Lark's Tongues in Aspic, which are the two late 60s, early 70s, they're the experimental proggy ones that some people think are masterpieces, some people fucking hate. I love them both, but I get that they're not for everybody. Lark's Tongues in Aspic is, if anything, it's even more kind of weird and proggy than this one in a lot of ways. This album, things like most of 21st Century Schizoid Man is fairly accessible kind of rock prog.
Yeah, it's
and likewise
similar in a lot of ways.
The title track,
Zeppelin,
and
Deep
you've
Purple.
You've got a very, what I think is a very Zeppelin sort of track early in the album as well, which reminds me very much of some of the kind of more folky, slow ones. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
So don't get me wrong. What I'll say before we even start listening to anything is I liked this album. This is a good album. And I liked at least elements of every song. My issue is that I think a lot of the tracks aren't songs. From memory, 21st Century Schizoid Man is actually the only track that returns to that song and lyrics and the motif at the end of the noodling. From memory, all the rest of them just noodle after the song.
But even that song, it's... What is it? I haven't got it in front of me. Is it 7 minutes?
7 minutes 24, yeah.
A good 4 minutes in the middle of that could be a Miles Davis album. It is
100%.
pure
It changes style completely
improvisational
when it gets to the
jazz.
noodling.
It's close, more akin to fucking Miles Davis Bitches Brew than it is to
100%.
a Yes or Genesis album.
It fully changes style in the middle of the track.
Mm.
So Moonchild is the longest by far. That's the only track that's over 10 minutes. Everything else you're like 7, 6. Epitaph is 8.
Is Epitaph only 8?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was longer.
But I threw it on, and from the start of 21st Century Schizoid Man, I really dug this album.
It hits hard.
I think when they're actually playing prog rock, it's really great. I just don't need all the jazz noodle. Great riff. Like I said, it's very Led Zeppelin. But just to give the listeners a sense, I'm just going to skip forward like 4.5 minutes and see what's going on.
You're in experimental era Miles Davis
Yeah.
meets Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
You're in that experimental, musicians that are incredibly fucking good with their instruments and are just pushing boundaries left, right, and center. And 90% of the audience are going, "Where the fuck did the song go?"
Yeah.
And that's fine. There is no wrong opinion about this stuff.
Yeah.
Not liking that bit is completely fine.
Yeah. And again, I didn't skip. At no point on any of my listens did I skip anything because I wanted to give this album the full, what I feel it deserves. But due to the noodling, I wouldn't be adding any of these tracks to a playlist.
No, it's a big call to add something that's
even though,
8+ minutes long to
the
a
actual
playlist.
song of 21st Century Schizoid Man, if that was just a song on its own, I would.
Yeah.
But I can't do that.
I'm interested to know where you fall on this next track.
I really dug I Talk to the Wind. I Talk to the Wind was probably one of my favorite tracks.
Because this reminds me of stuff off like Led Zepp 4 and 3.
Yep.
The wind does not hear. The wind cannot hear. I'm on the outside, looking inside. What do I see? Much
Very Zeppelin, and instrumentally very kind of Jethro Tull as well.
They go from the super experimental jazzy prog to folk prog in the very next track, which normally the bands that are in those camps are right at the opposite ends of the spectrum, which is kind of wild.
Yep. Epitaph, again, probably quite high up for me. Really like this track.
Oh,
again,
good.
My issue is the noodling at the end.
I was one. This is the one that I was. I kind of knew which songs you'd like or which tracks you'd like and which you wouldn't, just because obviously we know each other pretty well by now. This was the one that I was most interested in because I know, for example, you love The End by The Doors.
Yeah.
Which is kind of one of the closest corollaries, I think, to this particular track because it's very long, but it does have movements and it doesn't just, like Moonchild, do the same weird shit for 10 minutes. It takes you on a journey, so it doesn't necessarily feel its length. However, it's very proggy and it's close to me. It sits. I think Epitaph's a masterpiece. To me, it sits alongside like Supper's Ready by Genesis or I don't know, Lady Fantasy by Camel or some of these long 7-8 minute plus epic early 70s type prog masterpieces.
Yeah, I really, really dig that track. And again, there's elements of every single track on here that I like. It's just that I think some of them...
I forgive you for not liking Moonchild. That's just like 12 minutes of weirdness, which
Well,
not a lot of people... I don't expect a lot of people to dig that.
let's play Moonchild. Let's get into it. This bit I like. I actually really like this.
It's just like 4% of the song.
Yes. Let's do this. Let's go ahead in increments. All right. So we're at the 30-second mark now.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip ahead to 2 minutes, and we'll see what's happening.
Okay.
Pretty similar.
Still teasing you. It still sounds like
We're
late
still in
60s,
an actual song at this point.
late 60s, something from Saucer Full of Secrets or something by Pink Floyd.
But this is my issue with all the tracks on this album. So I'm now at 4 minutes. I bet we're still in the track. Oh, okay. So the track is just ending, and now we're going to get into noodling.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. We're done with the lyrics for the song, by the way.
Yeah.
And we're at 4 minutes. So now we've just got 8 minutes of garbage. Like, just total nonsense. Like, I'm just going to... Let's skip ahead another 2 minutes.
Atmospheric mood music. Could be.
Like, I mean, I understand it's prog rock, but why is this here is my thing. You know, it's just... barely anything is happening.
It's
This isn't even the same kind of like at least in 21st Century Schizoid Man, yeah, you get this big long jazz prog break in the middle, but there's a real musicality to it. This is nothing.
This is a lot closer to sort of experimental ambient music, which is again, it's 1969. These guys are trying to break boundaries. They're drawing on all sorts of things. And the end result of that is, as it is, going to be a little bit eclectic. And there's a reason that most people don't think this is their best album.
Yeah.
It's just 30 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
This is the same year that Abbey Road came out. I mean, this shit is insanely progressive, even within a genre that's called progressive. It's not as cohesive as it could be. Like a lot of fantastic directors' debut films, probably needs some editing. To be honest. I think as a whole, it's a phenomenal achievement. It's not perfect. I think once you get to things like Red and Discipline, the lineup of the band's changed a bit. Greg Lake's moved on, but I think Fripp has, being the Nazi in the studio that he apparently was, and apparently he was a nightmare to work with. You know, he would make people do things 1,000 times until he got exactly the thing he wanted. But I think if you went and listened to Red or Discipline, they're much more cohesive, complete albums. This is a bunch of drug-fucked insane people in a room in 1969 going, where each one of us is a genius on our particular thing. Let's do some shit. And it's the late 60s.
As mentioned, it's only a
get
five.
some
it's only a 5-track album. We've played 4 of them now, so I'll leave the title track, "The Court of the Crimson King," to play out the show on.
Best track on the album.
Yeah, I agree. So look, I like huge chunks of this album. If the album was just the tracks, and if it was just the tracks, this wouldn't be a prog rock album. This would just be a rock album. It's very similar to Zeppelin in a lot of ways, as we said, or Deep Purple even at times. So if it was just those, I would probably like this album more, but this album wouldn't be what it is then. So I recognize the greatness of this album, but for me, I'm probably going to land on a 6.5.
No, that's not surprising.
Yeah. Still a great listen. I don't regret having listened to it. Like I said, it's been on my to-listen list for a long time.
It's kind of like when we had well, not in terms of the music or your liking or not of it, but it's kind of like a Ziggy Stardust or something. It's kind of like you're glad to check it off the list, regardless of whether you like it or not.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well,
where am I going next?
Next week, I am giving you an Australian rock album, a band that we have had on this show before, that from memory, their album you liked but didn't love. Okay. I'm curious to see what you think of this one. It is the brand new album from the Smith Street Band, titled Once I Was Wild.
Okay.
So
that is one of all of the bands you've given me, and I think there's only 2 albums you've given me that I haven't genuinely liked. And I haven't hated anything, but there's only 2 that I've kind of not been a huge fan of. Smith Street Band's not one of them. I know I like them. It is the Smith Street Band are the only one I do not recall at all what they sound like or anything. I just know I liked them.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is fascinating to me.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, their new album, I say new, it's probably about 5 months old now. It came out just at the end of last year. Fantastic album. I pre-ordered it, got the vinyl before it, came out, and it was just I knew I was going to enjoy it. So I don't pre-order a lot of music. Rat Boys, Smith Street Band, The Beths, they're the kind of bands that I'm going to pre-order albums from. And I love it. I saw them live last week, and it was such a great time. So I feel like it's finally time to give you this album.
Cool.
And I hope you enjoy it. So,
okay.
All right.
Alrighty.
In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at pottymouthradio.com or pottymouthradio@gmail.com. Do all of the likey, subscribey type things. Tell a friend. Tell 3 friends. If they tell 3 friends, if they tell 3 friends. It's not a pyramid scheme. It helps us out.
You don't get anything, but we might. I don't know.
And I'm going to play us out within the Court of the Crimson King.
Yeah. And as we always say, we came close, but the hunt continues.
Shattered by the sun, I walk a road, horizons change, the tournament's begun. The purple piper plays his tune, the choir softly sing 3 lullabies in an ancient tongue for the court of the crimson king.